God. Back in the day when humans used to live alongside the river, what was their connection like with wildlife?
Say 100 years ago, on land, plenty of animal, small population, so there are plenty to eat. So as for people who live near the river banks, of course, they have a lot of fishes, they have a lot of shrimp, and these are the food for the crocodile, as for human.
Crocodiles?
So, yes. So we are competing against each other. When the food is not enough for the crocodile, so they look at human as their food.
Oh my goodness.
A long, long time ago, a prince met a beautiful lady by the seaside. For the prince, it was love at first sight. Oh, pretty lady, where do you come from? I have never seen you here before. Which country do you come from? Who are your parents? I wish to send a messenger to your family so I can ask for your hand in marriage. I cannot answer your question, Your Highness, she said as she drew a sea green veil across her face. Please do not ask me any more questions and let me go now. He was sure that she was of royal blood, but never guessed that she was the daughter of the great Sea King. She had only come to the land for a little walk and wished to return to the waters. But the prince would not listen to her. He did not want to lose her. He carried her back to his palace and married her the next day. The prince later introduced her to his mother and father. They were both very surprised at how graceful and well-mannered the beautiful lady was. The queen mother noticed that there was something strange about her son's new wife. She always went to walk on the seaside, early in the morning and late in the evening. She would stand looking at the ocean and sing sad songs. The king asked his advisors to find out who the young princess's parents were. I am sure she is of noble birth, but I want to know which country she comes from. I do not understand why she would not tell us who her parents are. There is something strange about her. I believe she is possessed by a sea spirit of some kind, the queen added. She hardly speaks. She presented me with a beautiful necklace made with sea pearls. My son told me that she brought it from her father's house. When I asked her where her father's house was, she just smiled sadly and walked away. My son answered for her, saying, "Her home is far, far away. You wouldn't want to go there." The young prince would not allow anyone to say anything against his wife. He loved her very much and sometimes would accompany her on the long walks along the seashore. He knew that she was homesick, but stayed back because of her love for him. 6 weeks later, one of the royal servants came rushing to see the king and queen. "Your Majesty, I went to clean the princess's room this morning. I didn't see the princess in her room." I looked everywhere, but she was missing. I found her windows wide open. The queen frowned. The window was facing the sea. It is as if she disappeared into thin air. But even more strange, I found this egg on Her Highness's bed. She held out a large egg in her hand. The princess was never found. The prince was heartbroken. He kept the egg in a warm box, hoping that the beautiful princess would return sometime soon. Nine weeks later, a crocodile hatched out of the egg. The queen was upset. See, I told you that she was some kind of a fish monster or sea creature. She charmed you to have a royal-blooded crocodile baby. The prince was very fascinated that he had a royal reptile. It was still his royal blood. He knew that his mother was unhappy and feared for the safety of the baby crocodile. The prince heavy-heartedly carried the little royal reptile to the nearest river and let it swim away. Swim to safety, little one. Take care of yourself. Always remember that humans are your relatives. Do not harm any humans.
Sacred beliefs in Sarawak about crocodiles?
Yes, there are. And the native, especially the Iban, they believe in the spiritual world. So crocodile is one of them.
So what is their spiritual belief about the
Spiritual belief
crocodile?
that the Iban believe that if they kill the crocodile, a family kill the crocodile will remember members of the family for 7 generations.
And when you say remember,
Yes.
what does that entail?
Yes, they remember they don't eat other people, but they will go for the family that killed the crocodile.
They'll target that family.
Right. Target
Okay.
members of the family in the future.
How about the other Sarawakian people?
The Orangudu, they live upriver where there's no crocodile.
There's no crocodiles
No
over there.
crocodile, upriver.
That's nice.
Yes. And the Badayu people, they live in the interior. They don't encounter crocodile.
Okay.
Except the Iban, they live near the coast where there are plenty of crocodiles.
So that's why especially for
Yes,
Ibans.
especially the Iban
Okay, that
people.
makes sense.
Yes.
As the years passed, the prince became the king, and after his reign, he grew old and passed away. The crocodiles continued to multiply in the rivers. Some of them would visit the longhouses in their human form by removing their skins and leaving them hidden. They looked like any other human. Many years passed, and everyone forgot about the crocodile cousins who lived in the swamps and rivers of Sarawak. fine day, there was a grand wedding taking place in the village of Oya. It was the wedding of the great chief's daughter. The wedding ceremony and party was going to last for 3 days. The whole village and guests from other longhouses came to the celebration with music and dancing. Later in the evening, 2 strong men surfaced from the swamp in the nearby jungle, and they joined the celebration. Both were very well-mannered and very handsome. They were dressed richly, and all the young women were attracted to them. They could dance very well too. A group of old men sat smoking their cheroots. Their heads turned to watch the 2 young men take part in fun and games. Who are those 2 young fellows? They look like strong warriors, and the way they carry themselves feels like royalty. The next day, a poor villager named Luing went to the swamp to fish in the late hours of the afternoon. He was surprised to see the 2 men at the water's edge. They were in the midst of changing into their rich clothing from their crocodile skins. Luing was shocked. He thought he was seeing ghosts and let out a scream of fear. They walked over to the fearful Luing and spoke to him very politely. "We are glad to meet you, uncle. There is no need to fear us. I am Bujang, and this is my brother, Radin. We are here to attend the wedding celebration of our cousin at your village. We will be very upset and unhappy if our skins were lost. Would you be kind enough to keep an eye on them for us?" Radin added. Luing was shivering with fear. He could not speak. He just nodded his head. "Thank you, uncle," Bujang said. The 2 men went up the path to the chief's longhouse, where the celebrations continued. After having a fun time with music and dancing with the young ladies, they quietly walked down the path to the river where Luing was fishing. Luing was waiting for them at the water's edge. This time, he had built up enough courage to speak to them. "I kept watch over your coats, safe right there." The 2 young men quickly put on their skins. "Here is something for you, uncle." Bujang placed a rough lump of something that smelt like turmeric in Luing's hand. Both the crocodile-men then slipped into the dark water. Luing stood in a daze, wondering if he was dreaming. He had heard the story about the crocodile prince from his grandfather. He never thought he would meet a real one. Luing went home extremely tired. He had not slept all night. He wondered what this gift was from the crocodile-men. He looked at it closely and muttered to himself, "A lump of something that smells like turmeric." He left it on the table and went to sleep. Later, when he woke up, he went straight to the table to check whether the yellow lump was still there. He wanted to make sure that he was not dreaming. He wiped the lump with a clean cloth and found that the gift turned out to be a lump of gold. Suddenly, there was a knock on his door. It was his nosy neighbor, Ngareng. Before Luing could cover the lump of gold that was shining on the table, Ngareng walked into the room. Ngareng's jaw dropped in awe and surprise. He knew that it was a lump of gold. "I didn't know that you were so rich, my friend. You have been pretending to be poor, catching little fish with us, and hiding your riches in your little kitchen." No, I'm not rich. This was a gift from the young men who visited the wedding yesterday." Luing was very naive and a simpleton. He blurted out the whole story. Ngareng's eyes grew big with greed. So that is why nobody knew them. The two strangers were crocodiles. His eyes narrowed as something crossed his mind. "I wonder if they are coming back tonight." Ngareng gave Luing some misleading information about the weather and sent his friend fishing downriver. He made sure that Luing had left the village before he went down to the swamp and waited in the bush. He had an evil plan in his mind. After the sun went down, the two crocodiles came out of the water and changed out of their rough skins into rich clothing. Ngareng stepped out of his hiding place and demanded to know who they were. "We are going to attend the wedding party in the village, uncle," said Radin. "So it is more suitable if we dressed as humans." Ngareng licked his lips. "You better be careful of your skins. Make sure that nobody steals them. There are a lot of thieves around here." Bujang looked at Ngareng and said, "Maybe you would be kind enough to take care of our garments for us, uncle?" "Oh, well, I will do you young fellows a little favor, but don't stay up too late." After the crocodile-men went up the path, Ngareng gathered some dry leaves and sticks, and he did something very wicked. He made a little fire and he burnt the two crocodile skins. Later, in the early hours of the morning, Bujang and Radin returned to the swamp. They saw Ngareng sitting at the bank. "Uncle, Thank you for looking after our skins. Can we have them, please? Thank you is not enough. You must reward me with gold. Like you rewarded my friend yesterday, but this time I want 10 times more. Bujang and Radin looked around, and they could smell the burning skin. They realized what was happening. You want gold in return for your kindness, uncle? Radin asked him. Ngareng's mouth watered when he thought of the lumps of gold. Yes, and I want 10 times more, and if you don't, I will not return your skins. Radin pointed at a deep spot in the swamp and asked Ngareng to dive in. That is where your gold is. You can get more than 10 times if you swim down and gather them yourself. Ngareng didn't wait to hear more. He was overcome by greed. He dived into the water. His greed blinded him on what was waiting for him in the dark water. Hungry jaws waited to chew him up into a pulp. That morning, the river turned red. From that day onwards, crocodiles stopped trusting humans and became enemies.
So based on the folktale, do you think that humans and crocodiles could ever live in harmony again?
Certainly.
You do?
Yes, certainly. Humans and crocodiles share the same food sources.
That's right.
Shrimp, fishes. If we control overfishing, there'll be some food for the crocodile, so the crocodile would not try to attack us. There will be check and balance in the ecosystem. So we can be friends again with the crocodiles.
We don't need to be enemies.
We don't need to be enemies anymore, just like in the olden days.